everybody, this is Bryan Hogue. Welcome to another episode of Chiller Chat. Do you like comic books? Do you like superheroes? Do you like horror? I have a feeling that you probably at least like the horror because you you probably no doubt like Chiller Chat and Chiller Night Theater and all that good stuff. Well, I happen to be a comic book fan and superheroes. All right, and good stuff like that. So tonight we have a nice blend of all of that with our guest Daniel Doing. Daniel is the creator of the Fringe Knight comic book. So we had Daniel on the show almost a year ago, and I wanted to follow up and see how his comic was doing and how he's coming along with that. So we're going to give him a call right now and get him on the line. So, all right. There we go.
Hello.
Hey, Daniel, this is Bryan. You're on Chiller Chat.
Greetings, Chiller Chat fans.
How are you doing tonight?
I am doing excellent. How are you?
I am fantastic. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. I know we did.
Oh, yes, I did. I had to throw out all my old pants and get ones in 2 sizes bigger.
Uh-oh. Get the fat clothes out, huh?
Yeah.
That happens. Well, that's good. Sounds like you had a good day then. All right. Well, we want to talk about the Fringe Knight. Now, the last time you were on the show, we were actually in the studio for that, and I have here the first issue of the Fringe Knight. And you were telling us about the Order and the Fringe Knight and the character. Can you do a quick recap for maybe any of the viewers who maybe don't know who the Fringe Knight is?
I certainly can. The Fringe Knight is a sci-fi noir horror series that I set in Erie, Pennsylvania, and it revolves around this young man named Anthony who discovers this massive underground lair that belonged to the oldest Illuminati-type secret society that's ever existed on the history of the planet, called the Order of Knowledge. And about 30 years ago, they mysteriously vanished without a trace. And now he has been left with all of their secrets, all of their artifacts, and all of their knowledge.
Okay. Now he has, and what type of powers does he have, just as a recap?
As I like to put it, he has Indiana Jones luck.
Which is a good thing to have. Oh,
yes. It's almost as good as Ash Williams luck in Evil Dead.
Yeah. So, and he has things within the uniform, like almost like a Batman would have the utility belt and all the gizmos and gadgets to fight the monsters.
Yes, everything that the Fringe Knight wears or uses is actually an artifact that was kept in the Order's secret headquarters. For instance, the coat he wears was actually created by a member of the Order during the Revolutionary War, and it's basically indestructible.
Okay. And what I think is kind of neat about this is the opponents he goes up against. His enemies are basically the supernatural, the monsters, werewolves, vampires, that type of thing.
Yeah, whereas Batman punches thugs in the face, Fringe Knight has to face down such threats like werewolf biker gangs and vampire drug lords.
I remember you mentioning about the werewolf biker gangs. Now you are on what issue now?
We just released issue 2 this year. We had our regular spot at Erie Comic-Con, and it was a great time we had. And now we will be working on issue 3. And we've been working on streamlining a few things, and we've actually been getting things more refined. So we're actually hoping by, I want to say, Valentine's to have issue 3 out.
Oh, Okay. Well, that sounds pretty ambitious. I mean, that's right around the corner. Now, did you get? I can put up some of these pictures here shortly, but you got a new artist, didn't you?
Yes, I have a new artist. That's my new mainstay one, and his name is also Daniel.
Ah, can't go wrong with that, I guess. Um,
Oh.
well, now, what made you? I assume that you've always been a comic book fan. I mean, I would think so. I know I've had a fascination with them since I was a little kid. It's not something I just grew into. I've always been a big fan of comic books. So.
Yes, I've always been a real big fan. Matter of fact, not to get all Saturday mornings after school special on you, but it really I do owe it to comic books for being able to read properly.
You know, I actually I feel the same way. You know, with myself because I read so much, and it really actually taught me when I go to write. I know the last job I had, I mean, I was writing tons of reports, and that sentence structure that I was able to learn when I was a kid really helped me in my adult years, you know.
Absolutely.
So, but granted, I'm not writing reports of werewolves and vampires, but you know, the content itself doesn't matter. What matters is the sentence structure and proper grammar and stuff like that. So. I don't know. I think they definitely have their benefits besides other than just stirring the imagination.
Definitely. I would definitely agree there. In a world where we have LOL and TTYL, it's nice to know that some people still understand, when you go to say goodbye, say, well, I will see you later and farewell.
Yes. Always helpful to be able to compile a sentence. Yes, in this day and age. Well, what can you tell us about what's been going on with your comic, The Fringe Knight? And at any time, Daniel, you want to refer to any of those photographs that you sent, just let me know, and I'll make sure those are on the screen as we're talking.
Oh, certainly. Well, with the first issue, we actually, with the artist, had looked at doing some character sketches to really kind of get back to basics. Mm-hmm. Because with moving forward and everything with the comic, I really wanted to be able to tell the story and have flashbacks and have a good reference for my artist for like the previous characters. So we had done a new initial concept sketch for the first issue villain, the Wendigo Man. Mm-hmm. And I was very happy with how he turned out. Because, spoiler alert for those who haven't read issue 1 yet, he's a 14-foot tall, prehistoric, radioactive werewolf.
Yeah. Well, is that one of the pictures that you sent me that you want me to put up?
Yes, actually.
Okay. Is that the horned creature here? Is this him?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah, he looks kind of neat there.
Really wanted to show the effect of, radioactive material on something supernatural.
Mm-hmm. That is really cool. And this is your new artist who's doing this?
Yes, he did the pencils and inks, and it was colored by my colorist, my fiancée, Shannon.
Oh, okay. All right. That is fantastic. And now this guy, and this was in the first issue?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Now, if I can pull up this picture here, who's this guy here? I remember seeing this picture before. Not maybe this picture, but I remember you talking about this character. Now this is a there is a few seconds delay when you're looking at it. So this is a character. He's got one side of his face looks to be all damaged, and looks like I think he looks like a vampire or something.
Yes, that is one of Fringe Knight's recurring upcoming villains called Silver Fangs. And then that is with a Z because he is that arrogant.
What can you tell us what happened to his face?
Well, I can tell you a little bit. It's a bit of a surprise.
Okay. Well, we don't want to ruin it.
Issue.
When
gotta go and wait for Fringe Knight there.
Okay. When do we see this one? And which issue?
He should be coming up fairly soon in issue 7.
Okay.
I will say that he is a very formidable opponent because part of the mythology with Fringe Knight, like you saw with Wendigo Man, is that I try to do a scientific kind of baseline for anything in the realm of the supernatural. So I kind of think like, like in the case of Wendigo Man, look at werewolves from like, say, like the Ice Age, when there was, barely anything out there. Mm-hmm. If a human was turned to, like, one of these primordial werewolves, they probably would never have turned back into a human, and they would have been massive and just a horrifying force to deal with. And I kind of put the same principle with vampires. I imagine, like, primordial vampires being a lot more Nosferatu-looking, bald head, pointed ears, very elongated nose. And then it's just like with, kind of like genetic traits, getting passed on. So like one of these vampires bites a human and turns them, and then that newly made vampire bites another person. And then if you compare those to like vampires and werewolves of like kind of the modern day, not necessarily as strong as their primordial counterparts.
Okay. Interesting.
And Silver Fangs is more closely related to like the primordial vampires. He was actually turned by a vampire who is about 10,000 years old.
Oh, okay. So
he comes from hardier stock, as they say.
Well, Brad rates, wow, that radioactive werewolf is really something. And then he writes about the werewolf. Wow, his face is messed up like Two-Face on Batman. So.
Yeah, I went through a lot of design ideas when it came to Silver Fangs because that scarring on his face, that's kind of like the equivalent of when the bear sticks his nose into the honeycomb trying to get the honey and he gets stung.
Uh-huh. Well, let's see. Do you want me to just pull these pictures up and you explain them, or do you want to?
Oh, certainly.
Okay.
Certainly.
All right. Now we have.
You're the man with the microphone.
All right. Now I'll pull up this picture. It looks like some training is ensuing on this page. What can you tell us about that? Looks like a guy with a sword or a stick.
Yes, that is actually the Fringe Knight's alter ego, Anthony. And he is training in the lair of the Order of Knowledge after acquiring the single greatest resource that the Order actually has. It's actually what inducts him into the Order to begin with. Because the Order, long ago, discovered a way to actually record their entire life experiences onto these marble-like stones. So future members of the Order could refer back to them for guidance and advice on certain matters. And so a lot of Anthony's training in becoming the Fringe Knight, he gets from these stones. And what's interesting about the memory stones is when you hold one, you actually feel like you're living that person's life. It's not like an instantaneous thing where you hold it and then you can do kung fu, oh, how did I learn to do that? No, when you hold it, it seems instantaneous, but in your mind, you are living through the decades of hardship, of training, of broken bones and sore muscles that person endured to learn that skill or that trait or the long that they spent up studying. So there's a dangerous element to to the memory stones where if Anthony isn't careful, he can lose himself in them.
Huh. Wow. That is really good art. Very good.
Thank you. That's from issue 2, which is out now.
Okay. Now here is the Fringe Knight, and he's standing over. It looks like some demon-looking characters who are climbing up on a wall or a bridge that he's standing on.
Yes, that is a very, very favorite poster of mine that we actually had at the convention.
That's really cool.
That is
What's that?
That is characters that we will reveal that are called the Underlings.
Okay. Huh.
And all I can say is they are terrifying.
That is really cool. Now, what's he? It looks like there's some kind of electrical arcs going on around them.
One of the few things that they fear.
Ah, all right. Well, then that would be a good place to be standing. All right. Now the Fringe Knight is fighting. Is it Silverfang? The guy with the face, the vampire with the half face burnt.
Yes, he will fight him.
Okay.
And
that's what the picture is.
That was our special Halloween edition poster that we had made.
Okay, that's the picture I have pulled up right now. All right, they're in front of some kind of bell tower, and the moon's in the background.
That's one of the famous churches in Erie.
Oh, that's right. This place takes place in Erie, Pennsylvania.
That is correct.
Wow. And Brad wrote very nice drawing on the pictures for the comic book, Daniel.
Oh, thank you, Brad.
So that's cool. Well, now with the hero in this comic is what's the Fringe Knight's secret identity? What's his name?
He is a 25-year-old shop clerk named Anthony Urbanowitz.
Anthony. Now, I know, like with Batman, his motivation is, his backstory is his parents were killed, and so he's trained himself. He wants restitution of some kind, to the criminal world. Spider-Man is his Uncle Ben. He felt responsible for him dying. They all have some kind of motive for being a hero. What do you suppose? What's Anthony's motive?
Well, that's actually the funny thing. I wanted to do something very interesting with Anthony. Is like, as most people in my age group, we really don't have any motivation.
So you kept it realistic.
Yeah, try to give a bit of realism to the fantasy, but no, just Anthony he was a very bright young man, and he made a lot of sacrifices for his family to help them out, because he lives with his mother and his grandmother and his great aunt, and he's been kind of like the man of the house for quite a few years, and that's one of the reasons he left college. And so when he gets the chance to be the Fringe Knight, which was purely by accident, it kind of gives him this sense of like forging his own path, but at the same time he feels like he's doing something responsible.
What I think is kind of neat on here, I don't know how many of these Chiller Chats, occasionally this gets brought up because I have a lot of people who watch this show and Chiller Night Theater who, and in the Saturday show, with the live show, they mention the Night Stalker, Carl Kolchak.
One of my favorites.
I relate this, from what I've seen of the issue and from what I've talked to you about, this kind of being a mix between Batman and Carl Kolchak, where he stumbles upon these paranormal monstrosities, and he's always fighting a different monster.
Yes, I that's kind of the angle I wanted to go with, and I wanted to kind of give him like the ability, as I kind of picture in my head, it's essentially if Spider-Man was given the reputation and fear factor of Batman, like right off the beginning of his career. Because in the world of the supernatural, the actual symbol on the armor that the Fringe Knight wears is the symbol for the Order of Knowledge. And that's sort of like a badge, in a sense. So when supernatural creatures see this symbol, they immediately are like, oh, man, somebody from the Order of Knowledge is here. We better be on our best behavior.
Oh, so they recognize that as a symbol, like what you said, like a badge.
Yes.
Okay. And then Richard writes on YouTube, he writes, "The Night Stalker. Coat check rules. Rockets here again. Thank you. Coat check rules." I don't know if that meant, coat check rules, but if he's doing the talk to text, but yeah, I tell you what, Richard and Daniel, I loved that show, and when you to see a character like you've created, and he's in those kind of situations, what better, I don't know, for somebody who loves superheroes and comic books and horror, what better character is there than the Fringe Knight? You tell me. So, oh, Richard said, yeah, it was talk to text. Yeah, I figured when I was seeing coat check rules. Yep. Yeah, I knew what you meant. That's funny. But okay, now here's the thing. What do you got coming up? Do you have anything coming up you're going to, or do you have any other? You said issue 3 is coming out in February.
That is the scheduled plan so far, and we've also here at Fringe Knight Comics, we've been putting a lot of thought into it, and we figured since we've already got the city backdrop, we're thinking about doing a limited live action series and putting it on YouTube.
That's right. We were going to talk about that. How are you going to do that? That sounds so interesting. I mean, you're in the beginning stages, I take with the just the idea, right?
Yes. I've been getting a lot of positive feedback on the comic, and just there's so much story I want to tell, and so little lead in my artist pencil, so to speak. Sometimes he's like, "Please stop! I'm getting a hand cramp. You have to take a break."
Uh-huh.
So I figured as sort of a way to be able to tell more intricate stories without breaking my artist's wrist was to kind of just do like something live action, not super crazy, but like a more noir setting.
Okay. Now I know that you go and you actually do the appearances, right, at the conventions?
Yes, I do. I made the whole suit myself.
Would you be playing then the Fringe Knight?
I haven't really decided about that yet. If I do, I'm definitely going to have to exit the Fat Cave.
It won't be any time around the holidays then, huh?
Unfortunately, no. I'm seeing that's where my talents lie, whether it be in front or behind the camera, or just standing off in the corner and hoping everybody knows what they're doing.
Yeah. Well, that sounds like that would be such a production. That would be interesting. Now, have you ever done anything like that before? Do you have any production experience at all?
I've done some classes and things in high school and in college,
Mm-hmm.
and most of my stuff again was behind camera, and I do have some experience in that background.
Okay. Well, that sounds neat. Now, do you have any projected time frame on when you would start something like that?
I would, as assuming I could get everything set up probably next summer, I would be looking at doing some pre-production.
Summer of 2019, you mean?
Yes.
Okay. Wow. Well, I really would be interested to see that. And Brad writes, I hope your show on YouTube becomes successful.
Thank you, Brad. I'm hoping that as well.
That is a really neat idea. Now, are these going to, are they going to go hand in hand with the comic, or is it going to kind of veer away from the comic a little bit? Is it going to be like The Walking Dead as opposed to the Walking Dead series? I mean, what are you planning for that?
I want to be ambitious and sort of like drop subtle hints of what happens in, say, an episode in the comics and vice versa, just so I can, have that sort of connectivity to it. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm hoping to do. I'm hoping to pull a Marvel, as they say.
Now you're going to be busy then, because are you going to be doing both of these projects at the same time?
I will probably alternate between scripting issues and scripting episodes. I'm just looking at possibly doing maybe a 6 to 12 episode run on YouTube and just kind of see if people enjoy it. Then I'll keep going with it. If not, then I will leave it there as a little added bonus.
You think there'll be 30-minute episodes, an hour? What do you think, or even shorter?
I would probably go 30 minutes.
30 minutes. Okay. Well, that can go quick, as our Chiller Chat episode is proving. We're actually almost at the bottom of the hour here. So how can people look up the Fringe Knight? Where can they buy their issues of the Fringe Knight, and how can they contact you?
Well, we have our Facebook page, which I will be sending you a link for all of your viewers.
Okay.
And then we also have a Patreon, so if they want to get issues sent directly to them, they can sign up that way. Just look up the Fringe Knight on Patreon. And if they live in or around the Erie area, they can go and check out Books Galore, Action Toyman, any of the major comic shops in Erie, and they carry issues.
Okay. All right. Do you have a website out yet?
Not quite yet. Still structuring it and getting it ready. But I'm hoping for 2019 to be the year of the Fringe Knight.
Okay. Work in progress. Work in progress. Sounds like you got a lot of things going on. Very neat idea. Very neat character. Cool origin. And it's a neat backstory about the Order and so forth. So, Daniel, is there anything else you wanted to add before we wrap up this episode?
Just thank you for having me on, and I really hope you enjoyed the comic.
Okay. Well, thanks for being on the show tonight, and thank you to all you viewers who are watching. And join us next week for another episode of Chiller Chat. Have a good night. Have a good Chiller night. We'll see you next week. Thanks.
How many times do I have to tell you, just because something isn't good doesn't mean it's bad?
Oh, jeez.